amazing. Literally, they've been in power for less than a month, and they fucked up beyond fucked up. Right? This is 100% Kier Starmer's fault. Right? 100% his fault. His policies, his tone-deaf dealing with it. This has been such a massive failure. Now, if you're not in England, which I am not, I'll try and bring you up to date roughly. There's been a lot of like Muslim acting out recently. Now, I want to be very clear, however. I maybe I'm crazy because most of them hate Jews, right? But I want to say like most Muslims are good, decent people, right? I think they have a growing demographic that is more radicalized, which makes complete sense, right? Because here's the thing. The British about 10, 15, 20 years ago, they treated the Arab world as if it was like the Western world, and it has a very different culture, right? So, by showing strength to them, they're like, I remember like Peter Capaldi was like, don't bomb them, it's going to radicalize them all, right? It's not like that. If you show strength to them, they respect you and they don't try and kill you. And again, this is culture. This is the culture. I would say, Arab culture, right? And if you show them kindness, compassion, well, I'm not saying be a shit to them and like put them in care, but I'm saying if you show them like extreme Western compassion, I think they get a feeling of weakness, right? Again, this is not. They're not monolith, right? I think most Muslims, especially British Muslims, are British first, right? And they're just like decent, nice people, right? But again, there is a radical element that I think large, growing, and essentially accepted. I mean, now I guess there are radical views in mainstream Islam as well. I mean, like they just all hate Jews. Right, and anything bad about Israel, they'll believe without question, right? And it gets worse, and it gets like so. It's what's the not exponentiary? I can't remember the word. Exponentiary. Anyway, it keeps growing, right? Right. It causes itself to keep going. It's a self-fulfilling, engine. So there is that radicalism. So that radicalism has been let off the leash somewhat since October 7th, hasn't it? You've had these like massive screaming genocidal marches, which were very much condoned and said tolerated. You've had increasing anti-Semitism. And then you've seen it spill out into not directed at Jews, then just directed at the British. You saw like the Manchester thing. You saw whatever that last big demonstration was about something in Pakistan. And again, it's always very belligerent, very angry, very violent. And every time the police has the same response, it's okay. Yeah, we'll find a community officer with a liaise to find your concerns. It's been very soft policing where they basically run away from these like massive racist intimidation riots. All right. So then I think the catalyst was there was this terrible thing where a Taylor Swift dance class was attacked by a knife-wielding maniac, killing a bunch of them and injuring others. It's horrible. It's just so horrible. I mean, like I can't even think about it. It really is horrible, right? And quite rightly, people were outraged, and then because the police were being so like, oh, this person isn't a Muslim at all, just a normal Welsh person, right? They were just acting very cagey, made everything, it's some kind of Muslim immigrant that went crazy and killed a bunch of white people because they're racist, right? That's what people thought when the police started out being cagey, right? And then if you point that out, they're like, oh, are you stoking misinformation? No, I'm pointing out the police are being sketchy. As always, right? Because they always are. They always look to weirdly protect that community, like that Muslim community. So then, then there's protests, and I think the Kier Starmer goes in very, very. There's pros and there's some violence, right? But they're not met with the same kid gloves that the Muslims are, right? The two-tier care they're calling him now, right? For good reason. It's a two-tier policing, very obvious two-tier policing system, and it's very sad. But so now we're in the disaster situation where you got a bunch of real racists now have glommed onto it and are chasing anybody brown. Right now, it's horrific. Right, I mean, like honestly, as a die-and-a-half woolly liberal, right? Not a 2024 liberal, but a real liberal. I'm horrified, right? That again, and I blame Kier Starmer entirely for this because he came out and said, like, labeled all these people who are not right-wing fanatics in any way, shape, or form, right? I mean, look here, this woman doesn't look like a right-wing fanatic. It looks like she's being unnecessarily assaulted, frankly, right? So this is where we are now. We have knuckle-dragging morons egged on by social media liars. They try to blame that on Farage, but for what? Hijacking the killing of 3 girls, wreak havoc in 8 English towns and cities. But instead of leadership, says our columnist, all we get is shiny new Labour ministers bouncing stupid platitudes. No wonder we're facing a summer of discontent. No, we really are. So anyway, we have. I think regular people have just had enough of mass immigration. They've had them, and here, let's have a look. We'll show you 1 second. And they're instantly being labelled as extreme right racists, right? Which is this is what Kier Starmer did, which is what I think really sparked this off. Right, here. Oh, yeah, so imagine this. Like, you wake up, this is in Belfast, I think, or Dublin. You wake up and there's a bunch of like sketchy Africans sleeping right under your house. Right, so this is a little girl woke up and saw this. And both the girl and the mother are terrified for a good fucking reason. Well, I would love to know how this stuff happens, right? I would love to know how this. Like, how do you get all these people to come on boats over here? Like, is this really better than where they're coming from? Really? Well, yeah, I'll be shitting myself if I woke up and found that on my doorstep. It has nothing to do with their skin color. It's like, who are these people? Why are they here in my country? How did they get here? Are they safe? I don't think they are safe. They don't look very safe. All right, and you make your whole area you live look like a tip now. Oh. What is going on with it? People have had enough, right? That's basically the bottom line. And so at the same time, you now have Muslim defense forces hunting down white people. Kier Starmer literally made a race war just out of being stupid. Man, that is creepy as fuck, right? And this intense 2-tier policing, right? So this has been going on. This is something that's been going on for many years. I first started talking about it during the Peter Capaldi years, when the Zygon inversion. We very much talked about this, right? Zygon invasion, Zygon inversion was talking about the homegrown terrorist phenomena, radical Islamic terrorism, and the basic, the idea was a good one. Like, what happens when the doctor meets an ISIS-like foe that will not, under any circumstances, compromise, right? And they chicken out, and the doctor makes a speech, and they go, "Oh, okay, that will be nice," right? That would never happen, right? That would never happen. But there was a push to say that this unrestricted mass migration was can only be a good thing, right? This is part of a long-term plan. Here's Peter Hitchens from, what was it, 15 years ago, predicting the future, like insanely.
or give it to your deadliest enemy and pay for the rope that will choke you. This is very urgent business, ladies and gentlemen, I beseech you. Resist it while you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing. You will be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic.
Right there, aren't we? Right, that's exactly where we are.
The term is already being introduced into the culture as if it was an accusation of race hatred, for example, or bigotry, whereas it's only the objection to the preachings of a very extreme and absolutist religion. Watch out for these symptoms. They are not just symptoms of surrender, very often ecumenically offered to you by men of God in other robes, Christian and Jewish and smarmy ecumenical. These are the ones who will hold open the gates for the barbarians. The barbarians never take a city till someone holds the gates open for them. And it's your own preachers who will do.
And yeah, when you say the own preachers, they're talking about the civil service. They're talking about all the woke moron fucks coming out of college.
Do it for you, and your own multicultural authorities who will do it for you. Resist it while you can. And if you wonder what will happen if you don't, look and see how a cricket team in Middlesex in England had to change its name by force last week because it was called, and had been for years, the Middlesex Crusaders. Look and see how stories about little pigs can't be taught to children in English schools anymore.
And this was 15 years ago.
Lest offense be taken by the religion of peace. Resist it while you can.
One of the things that is coming up over and over again is Islamophobia. And, well, you can see the stats, you can see the numbers rising, particularly since October the 7th. Although we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that before October the 7th, this was all heading in the right direction. It's been far too high for far too long. Clearly, we...
Honestly, do you think Islamophobia may have been increased by having twats like this, having two-tier policing, and having, genocidal racist marches going through your cities every week, right, screaming death to the Jews? Right? Do you not think that might be make people not be so Islamophobic?
I need to just say over and over again, Islamophobia is intolerable. It can never, ever be justified. And we have to continue with a zero tolerance approach. And I think there's more we can do in government. There's certainly stuff online, which I think needs tackling much more robustly than it is at the moment.
Like socialists and radical Islam, do they find good buddies? I honestly, the worst of the worst is the woke, right? The woke with an Islamic heritage, like whatever his name is. What's that mayor's name? Oh, God, he's so awful. Who's like literally destroyed London.
What I'm hoping, Kier, is your experience as a prosecutor means you'll be thinking about the strategy we can use to make sure we take action against those who break the law.
Yeah, anybody who says anything that we don't like, right? Yeah, which is exactly what's going to go down. Like, you know how authoritarian these people are. Holy crap, right? Holy crap. So, hey, this is a guy, we won't watch the full clip because it goes on a bit long. Talking about two-tier Kier.
Tell me about you and why you're here today.
Well, I used to be in the police years ago. I left 8 years ago. But I just feel really strongly about two-tier policing, and I do think that is the case, and that's what we're seeing. And I think we're seeing it here today in Nottingham.
Why do you think we're seeing it here today?
Well, since I've got...
Right, what the hell? Why do we see it here today? I mean, like, I understand we don't live in the society of, receive pronunciation anymore, but what the fuck? I would fire the scullery maid. She spoke like that. Here, what do you think is going to be here today? Fuck me. Let's hear that again. That's like super entertaining.
That is the case, and that's what we're seeing, and I think we're seeing it here today in Nottingham.
Why do you think we're seeing it here today?
This is the greatest clip of all time. What? How?
Well, since I've got here, and I'm just here just to observe what's happening, really. As always was the case, the opposite side of the argument are the instigators. They're shouting Nazi scum off our streets, fascist scum, all kinds of things like that. Yet the police are all facing off towards this side of the equation, and because they clearly see us as a threat. And
I don't. Why do they see them as a threat? I mean, like it's like I don't think what happened to make them see him as a threat. I mean, it is weird, right? It is a bit on the strange side.
I think that, you know, it's two-tier policing. It's just definitely the case as far as I'm concerned. We saw it with what happened in Leeds and the reaction there, and then we've seen the reaction to what's happened with these sorts of marches, and how straight away we're always taught how you act as a police officer influences how the crowd acts. So if you go in code 1, facing off to people, you're going to get a different reaction to how they've sort of dealt with the Palestinian protests or whatever.
Some people feel that the police and politicians, they're kind of doing things deliberately to wind, people kind of pouring fuel on the fire. Do you think that's true?
It's possible.
I mean, deliberately? I don't know. I just think Kier Starmer was an arsehole. I'll be great if he's forced to resign this week. That would be wonderful.
Well, because if you keep calling people...
I mean, he's literally started a race war this week and then went on holiday.
People right-wing thugs enough and winding them up enough, eventually some of them are going to act that way, aren't they, I think? And some people are getting a bit wound up here today. But like I say, I went near the front earlier. You've got lines of police facing us this way. You've got all the people behind them shouting horrible abuse behind them, and it looks as though the police are just sort of safeguarding them. And their sign, look, there's no signs here that say anything offensive. They've got signs saying "fuck off, Nazi scum" and all this kind of stuff. And that's public order offence.
Yeah, that's called two-tier policing, right? It's so bizarre how people just pretend it's not happening because it's inconvenient,
isn't it? So it's not being dealt with. No one's told them to take the sign down and stuff like that. So they're the instigators, and like I say, it is two-tier policing, 100%.
We saw in Leeds police officers running from the riots when the Roma community were rioting. What did you think to that as an ex-cop?
Okay, let me ask you. This woman is, I would say, quite attractive, right? But when she opens her mouth, she's like, "Fuck me." Oh, let's say she turns out, obviously I'm not saying this, is that she's a very professional young lady. Let's say you have a lady of the night, right? That you were a high class one. It turns up, again, looking beautiful like this young lady, and she's like, "Hey, kids up, oh god, do you pay more for that or less?" I don't know.
Well, I think it's political, and I think it's appeasement of that community. You get appeasement of certain communities, and you don't get appeasement for other communities. That's the petrified of upsetting certain communities. What it is, I tell you what it is as a police officer, and I've got mates that are still police officers, if you want to deal with somebody robustly and they're non-white, I think there's hesitation there because of the optics of how that looks. So if you're gripping people or dealing robustly with a crowd of people that are non-white, they're petrified of how that looks. But there's no hesitation when it comes to the white working class, because there's no...
In fact, they've been dying to get something for ages.
Blowback off that, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that's behind.
There's a lot of people, not only here today, but we've seen of the protests that are blaming police for a lot of things. Is the police to blame for this?
I think not the boots on the ground, no, because I think they're following instruction. But I think that the way the management see it, and the management are political. They're all university educated.
I'm sorry, she seems like she should be second barmaid at the Rover Return, right? This doesn't seem to be like her bag.
They've got sympathies with certain causes and they haven't got sympathy with other causes. And I think the way they organise their police is causing the problem. They're going, you look at the Palestine protest, it was all community engagement. Where's our community engagement? There's none of that, is there? It's sort of, when in London 2 weeks ago, they were all in what you call Code 1 outfit. They were all ready to go, should there be trouble. It wasn't like, come by, let's all get together, high fives, was it? It's a different style of policing.
Again, and how can anybody not see this?
For white working class.
So from your point of view, an ex-cop, what should the police be doing differently when you're in situations like this?
They should find someone with a better voice to do these interviews. That's really, I would say, number one. And if they're not going to do that, pan down so we can see your chest more clearly, right? Like one or the other, okay? I think either way would work.
They are put in a difficult spot with situations like this because they're obviously just trying to stop it kicking off. But it's clear to me from a manager, how it's being managed. They say us as the threat. They don't see the other side as the threat, and they're going to deal with us one way, and they're not dealing with the other side in the same way. So I think it's just they've got to bring back balance and show clearly that it's the whole principle used to be without fear or favour, and that's what it needs to be, and it's not.
Well, thank you for your time, and have a good day.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, have a good day. I'm going to go trim me whippet. Oh, I give up. Oh, I like me whippet. Oh, me whip. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we live in very strange times, right? We do live in strange times. My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.